Good evening, and other times and other dimensions. Thank you for taking the time to listen and check this out. Welcome to the Miceli Show, sponsored by Rap Fiend Radio and Squat Life, manufacturers of the strongest aromatherapy products on the market. Wake up and wake up, motherfucker. Also manufacturer of CNS Activator, the only product of its type as far as I know. We'll get back to that at another point in time. Let's jump right into the strength training segment of tonight's episode. Bear with me, my ADD is in full effect today, but hang in there. Some of this will make sense to you. Hopefully be a little bit entertained and take away a little gem of knowledge you can use in your own life or help somebody else out with at some point in time. The question was posed to me at some point in my life: if you were stranded on a desert island, that island was going to get swallowed up by the sea in 10 days. And the only thing you had on that island was weights and a bar and a squat rack, and you had to gain 50 pounds to your squat max in that period of time. What would your strategy be? Well, I know mine would be to load that bar up and get after that 50-pound PR as soon as possible and as often as possible, and however many times it took to get that squat PR. Again, it's a little bit of an oversimplification of what it takes to become strong, but probably the most important aspect of it nonetheless, which is complete 100% dedication to your craft. If you want to get strong, and I mean really strong, if you viewed Tuesday's episode, I touched on having the mind, the heart, and the guts all lined up into accomplishing the task at hand. So I'm going to keep reminding you guys episode to episode, week to week, just how important that is. You know, your nervous system, your intrinsic nervous system, and your enteric nervous system all working together with belief in what you want to achieve. Now, let me give you a couple real life anecdotes of that principle in play. One of my high school teammates, upperclassman, when I was a sophomore in high school, Johnny Russell, got absolutely pissed off when I passed him up on a bench press. I think it was the day I hit 300 pounds, and he had yet to hit a 300-pound bench press. Our head coach at the time, Randy Melvin, Super Bowl champ, West Aurora represent, had a really, had reward t-shirts. You bench 250, you get a shirt. You get every 25 pounds on up, you get a t-shirt to brag about your progress in the weight room. Anyway, Johnny Russell was furious that this young buck out-benched him. So, damn it, he was going to bench 300 pounds that day too. So, went and gave it a shot. Bang, missed it. Long story short, it took him 9 attempts to get that 300-pound bench press. And if you go by the book, that just does not happen. The body's not going to immediately get stronger, especially after 9 maximum effort attempts on the same movement, if you go by the books. Thankfully for Johnny, he did not go by the books, and he got that lift that day and got his shirt, and he was pretty pumped about it, and the whole weight room was freaking dying laughing about it, because how the hell does a man get stronger after 9 misses? We don't know, but he did. And that's the important takeaway. Fast forward, it was my senior year of high school, and I wanted a 350-pound bench press, before the season started. So it was max day for the team. I show up, bang, missed my 350-pound bench press. I was pretty ticked off myself. Went home, and I thought about that day Johnny Russell went after that same lift for 9 times in a row and eventually became successful. So I showed up to the afternoon session of max outs, and I'm going to do it again. So with the Johnny Russell principle in mind, I went in and actually, instead of 350, I chose 355. I was hot and bothered and ready to make some noise and do my deed for the day. I ended up banging it out for a few reps. Again, don't always go by the books. What does it take to get you motivated, to get your guts, your heart, and your mind unified towards the task at hand? And it doesn't have to be a bench press or a squat or anything like that. It could be a 5K run. It could be something in rehabbing an injury. I don't know, whatever physical achievement you are attempting to accomplish, think about that. You can always dig a little harder. You can always unify those parts of your body to a little bit greater level. What does it take to elevate, to level up, to get your body to push out more than it could at any time prior to that? So this is out of a similar story with a similar context. I found it very, very interesting at the time. Remember, if you know anything about me, or if you listen to Tuesday's episode, you'll know that I grew up in Aurora, Illinois. It was a hotbed for strength athletes. The legendary coach Ernie Franz had his headquarters and sports center in downtown Aurora, Illinois. So if you spent any time at his sports center, you got to rub elbows with a lot of great strength athletes, soak in a lot of wisdom, and just see a lot of things that were unique to that place. And there's I think the gentleman's name was Tony. I do not remember his last name to save my life. But he had jumped in and competed with the Franz team for quite some time in the 80s. I believe his all-time best lifts were about a 700-pound squat, a little over a 700-pound deadlift. I don't think he ever got a 400-pound bench, but very respectful numbers. So he was helping Ernie out with a project once, and I was always eager to learn. So I asked Tony, about his background and training, and he, took time to give me a little story of his strength progress. When he first started out, he was pretty embarrassed at his bench press strength. I believe the number he gave me was about 180 pounds. I remember it was less than 200 because he kept talking about he couldn't even do a 200-pound bench press. He was, fairly satisfied with the level of his squat and deadlift. So he said, the heck with it. I'm not even going to mess with my bench press. I'm too embarrassed to even deal with it. I'm going to jump in with the team, and I'm going to work on my squat, work on my deadlift, do the best I can on those lifts. A year goes by. Tony puts about 20 pounds of body weight on. Gets his squat and deadlift way up there. I don't know if he quite hit those 700-pound numbers at the time, but he had certainly made a ton of progress over the course of that year in his squat, in his deadlift, and his general body mass from the effort that he gave. The guys got on him and said, man, you got to come in and start benching with us, man. You don't bench ever. He said, my bench press sucks, man. I don't want to bench. They only made him bench. And lo and behold, that day he could bench press like 340 or 350 pounds after not bench pressing one rep for the entire year. What is that analogy? What can we draw from that story that I just told you? I don't know. But oftentimes, the body can make changes that science tells you it's not able to make. So I encourage all you guys to not be locked in by any confinements of what the scientific community tells you can or cannot do in terms of physical development. Records are made to be broken. And I'll touch on a principle that Ernie Franz would talk about frequently. Wherever the reality is set, the general group will follow. A good example of that is the 4-minute mile analogy. Not sure if you guys are familiar with that, but for years, the world record mile time was above 4 minutes. I don't know what the exact record was. And all the experts, commentators, the scientists said a 4-minute mile was impossible. It was just too fast for the human body. It's never going to happen. So I believe the gentleman's name that first broke that 4-minute miles name was Bob Beeman. Could be wrong. I think I'm right. Not that relevant. So anyway, let's just say it is Bob Beeman. He breaks that 4-minute mile, first time in the history of track and field. And over the course of the next 12 months, I believe it was 20 plus additional athletes broke that 4-minute mile because the reality was changed. People had psychological permission to perform that feat. In this case, the feat of speed, not necessarily strength, but whatever the case is. So, can you quantum leap ahead? Can you see events in the future that make your current status seem like no big deal? I think that's the key for your progress in the sports performance world. If we're talking pure strength development, when the Lilly Bridges jumped on the scene in raw powerlifting, an 800-pound raw squat was considered incredible. And I remember when Eric Lilly Bridge hit a 900-pound raw squat, man, people went up in freaking uproar all over the world. There's videos, nonstop barrage on YouTube, a 900-pound raw squat. How incredible is that? Blah, blah, whatever. So fast forward about 10 years, now we got guys literally squatting over 1,100 pounds raw. Has the human body changed that much in the last 10 years? I don't think so, but what has shifted is the reality. What the mind of the populace has perceived as being accomplishable has changed. So take that for what it's worth. Let me jump forward into a totally different subject.